Hey everyone, Wyatt here from Winnipeg Historical Fencing Club. Today I'm talking about quarter blows. So in my last video with hawks and half hawks, I mentioned that the hawks were point up cut. What I meant by that is from a lower position or an extended position, essentially my point comes up and I can come back down with my hawk. My quarter blows are the same lines of attack as a hawk. They're descending cuts. The difference is that I go through pendant first. So my hands and my hilt come up, I go into pendant, and I cut back down these same lines of attack as my hawks and my half hawks. So we'll see this a lot in my interpretations where I've attacked with a hawk, they parry my sword, I keep my motion going under my sword, cutting through into a quarter blow. Or if I'm in a lower position, I might use it as a parry, parrying independent and cutting around with a quarter blow. You also see them, this works good at the proffer, rake, and quarter, as Paul Wagner does them. You have your proffer, you offer your sword. When they engage it, I jip my point, rake up to the arms. Now I'm in pendant, and I can do a quarter blow. So it works good for the proffer, rake, and quarter. It's a good interpretation of it. I like it. And the way that Paul Wagner gets his quarter blow is from this theory, and it's a really nice theory. Essentially, across at the tips, our swords, I can still come back and do a full blow or a hawk. If we're across at the halfway point, I can't come all the way back for a full blow now. It's just too dangerous. But I can come halfway back and cut around. And you'll actually see this in my interpretations in Harleyan on the half hawk, and I mentioned this in the last video. Now, for more around the quarter point of our sword, I can't even pull back for that half hawk. Even that's too dangerous now. But I can raise my hands, drop my point, go independent, and cut around that way. This is Paul Wagner's theory on the quarter blow. I think it's a great theory, and he gets some credence from it from Swetnam and how he describes his cuts with the broadsword and dagger. So we'll go a bit over that. But first, we'll start with Wild. So Wild says, let your first assault be a quarter blow and a half or a quick chop performed upon a medium. So what he's saying here is that my first cut should be down at the top of their head, either with a wrist cut, which is using mostly the wrist, a bit of extension in the arm, a lot of your fingers are being used here too, and my lunge. And I get just a powerful quick chop, like he describes. He says you can use a half blow, which now I'd be pulling my arm halfway back. You engage more elbow, and a little more powerful, but it's a little slower. It's a little easier to see coming. The last one is the slowest one. That's my quarter blow, where now I'm coming through a hanging guard, just like quarter blows with longsword going through pendant and cutting around down to the top of the head. This is my interpretation of what Wild's saying, and it helps with how we do our quarter blows on longsword. Swetnam says something similar, and this one adds more credence to the theory as well. So he mentions these three blows as well, the wrist, the half, and the quarter, the wrist being the fastest, the half being a bit slower, and the quarter being the slowest. He also says that the quarter blow compasses the head, so when we go into our hanging guard, that cut's going to come around our head. So that makes sense there. And he also says it's good for cutting the leg, which also makes sense, because it gives us this big motion to cut lower down, and a very powerful chop to the legs. But he does say it is the slowest cut as well. So the same motion is essentially what we're doing with our longsword. We're raising our hilt, dropping our point into a hanging, and cutting with a downwards cut. So that's how I do my quarter blows. That's kind of why I do my quarter blows. Hope you enjoyed this theory on my interpretation. If you have your own, feel free to share. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to ask. Thanks.